The Beer Hall Bomb. In 1938, German carpenter Johann Georg Elser decided that taking out Hitler could prevent a wider war. Working alone, he stole over 100 explosive charges and detonators from a quarry, took black powder pellets from a fittings factory, and tested prototypes of his bomb in mid-1939. He chose Munich's Bürgerbräukeller for his plot because it was not guarded. There, Hitler gave his annual November 8th speech on the anniversary of the Beer Hall Putsch. Over weeks in 1939, Elser hollowed out a pillar behind the lectern, concealed his bomb inside, and installed a complex detonator based on Hitler's usual speaking schedule. On the night itself, because of wartime scheduling and travel needs, Hitler unexpectedly cut his speech short and left at 9:07 p.m. The bomb went off 13 minutes later, killing 8 and injuring over 60. But by that time, Hitler and his entourage had already left. Investigators found parts of an advanced timed detonator in the rubble, and Elser was caught that same night trying to cross into Switzerland with suspicious items in his possession. Under Gestapo pressure, he admitted to acting alone, but the regime blamed British intelligence for propaganda purposes. Elser was held as a special prisoner until April 1945, when he was executed at Dachau on Hitler's orders. The plane bomb. In 1943, Major General Henning von Tresckow, Chief of Staff of Army Group Center, planned to assassinate Hitler during a return flight from the Eastern Front. Once an early supporter of Hitler, Tresckow had turned against him after the invasion of the Soviet Union, driven by both moral and military reasons. He devised Operation Flash with his aide Lieutenant Fabian von Schlabrendorff. On March 13th, Tresckow used his position within the army to approach Colonel Heinz Brandt, who was traveling with Hitler, to carry 2 bottles of French Cointreau as a gift to Berlin, a payment for a lost bet with Colonel Helmut Stief. But in reality, the Cointreau was a bomb set to explode during Hitler's flight from Smolensk to Rastenburg, the location of Hitler's Eastern Front headquarters in East Prussia. The plan failed because the cold in the unheated cargo hold likely prevented the detonator's chemical reaction. Hitler's plane landed safely, and Brandt unknowingly carried the package off. Schlabrendorff immediately traveled to recover it, successfully picking up the unexploded liquor bomb before anyone discovered its true nature. The failure left no trace for the Gestapo, allowing Tresckow and Schlabrendorff to continue plotting. The self-sacrifice. In 1943, Wehrmacht intelligence officer Rudolf Christoph von Gersdorff, a close ally of Henning von Tresckow, volunteered for a sacrificial mission to bring down Hitler. The occasion was Hitler's visit to the Zeughaus in Berlin on March 21st during a memorial exhibition of captured Soviet weapons. Assigned as a guide for Hitler, Gersdorff carried 2 bombs with 10-minute fuses hidden in his coat. His plan was to activate them and remain close to Hitler, assassinating him along with other top leaders Göring, Himmler, Keitel and Dönitz. This attempt failed because Hitler rushed through the exhibition in just a few minutes, far shorter than the fuse time. After Hitler left, Gersdorff slipped away to a bathroom and defused the explosives, last minute avoiding discovery. He was soon transferred back to the Eastern Front, evading suspicion. After 1945, Gersdorff contributed to historical writing in the US and worked in humanitarian roles. The Uniform Plot. In 1942, German war officer Axel Freiherr von dem Bussche witnessed mass executions by the Nazis, which convinced him to join the resistance. By late 1943, he volunteered for a mission during a planned presentation of new winter uniforms to Hitler at the Wolf's Lair. Von dem Bussche, chosen as the model because his appearance fit Hitler's Nordic ideal, planned to conceal a landmine under his clothes and detonate it while demonstrating the uniforms, blowing up himself, Hitler, Himmler and Göring. But the plan collapsed when a British air raid destroyed the shipment of uniforms the day before the event, leading to its cancellation. Von dem Bussche volunteered again in 1944, but lost a leg in battle. The Gestapo never uncovered his role and he survived the war. Operation Valkyrie. On July 20th, 1944, Colonel Klaus von Stauffenberg, Chief of Staff of the Reserve Army and decorated veteran, attempted to kill Hitler at the Wolf's Lair in East Prussia. He believed Hitler's death was the only way to save Germany. Carrying a briefcase with British plastic explosive and a time-delay detonator, Stauffenberg armed one charge in a washroom and placed it near Hitler during a military conference. Shortly afterward, he excused himself on the pretext of a phone call and left the compound. At 12:40 p.m., the bomb exploded, killing 4 and wounding several others. But Hitler survived with minor injuries. The attempt failed due to several reasons. Because of time constraints and physical injuries, Stauffenberg managed to arm only one of the 2 bombs he had brought. Then there was Colonel Heinz Brandt, who, to get a better view of a map, moved the briefcase behind a solid oak table leg. This shielded Hitler during the blast. Plus, the meeting had been moved from the reinforced bunker to a lighter wooden hut that morning due to hot weather, which allowed windows to be open and let the blast dissipate. Believing Hitler dead, Stauffenberg flew to Berlin to trigger Operation Valkyrie, a coup plan to seize power by blaming the SS for the plot. Some army units initially acted on the orders, but as confirmation of Hitler's survival spread, confusion broke the plot apart. That night, Stauffenberg, Olbricht, Beck and others were executed. In the following weeks, thousands were arrested and nearly 5,000 executed, effectively destroying the German resistance. The Sniper Plan. In 1944, Britain's Special Operations Executive developed Operation Foxley, one of the most detailed Allied plots to take out Hitler. The idea was to exploit Hitler's daily routine at his mountain retreat, the Berghof, where he often walked unguarded to a nearby tea house. The plan called for parachuting a German-speaking Pole and a British sniper into Austria. With the help of an inside anti-Nazi shopkeeper, the agents would be sheltered, disguised as German mountain soldiers, and moved into position. The sniper, trained on moving targets, would ambush Hitler during his morning walk. But the plan came too late. By mid-1944, Hitler had already abandoned the Berghof. British leaders also questioned whether his death might actually prolong the war, since his poor strategic choices were accelerating Germany's defeat. Concerns about exposing resistance networks inside Germany further stalled the plan. The Aßner Plot. In February 1933, Bavarian politician Ludwig Aßner allegedly attempted to eliminate Hitler by sending him a poisoned letter from France. He hoped that Hitler, or someone in his circle, would be exposed when opening it. But the plan failed when an acquaintance of Aßner informed Nazi authorities, leading to the letter being intercepted before it even reached Hitler. Even without the betrayal, the attempt was unlikely to succeed as Hitler's mail was already screened closely. The Oster Conspiracy. In 1938, General Major Hans Oster and other conservative officers in the Wehrmacht planned to overthrow Hitler if he launched war against Czechoslovakia. Their goal was to storm the Reich Chancellery, arrest or neutralize Hitler, seize power, and restore the exiled Kaiser Wilhelm II as emperor. The plot relied on Britain resisting Hitler's demands, which would justify a coup. Instead, the Munich Agreement allowed Germany to annex the Sudetenland without war, removing the trigger for action. The conspiracy was shelved, though many of its participants later joined the Stauffenberg plot. The Breitenbuch Plan. On March 11, 1944, Wehrmacht cavalry officer Eberhard von Breitenbuch, connected to Henning von Trescow's resistance circle, planned to shoot Hitler at the Berghof. He and Field Marshal Ernst Busch have been summoned to brief Hitler. Breitenbuch carried a concealed pistol in his pocket, prepared to fire at close range. But the plan collapsed when SS guards, acting under new orders issued that same morning, barred them from entering Hitler's conference room. Breitenbuch was never exposed as a conspirator and survived the war. The TNT Plot. On October 5th, 1939, a Polish general, sorry I don't want to butcher this name, and other officers prepared an assassination attempt during Hitler's victory parade in Warsaw. They placed 500 kilograms of TNT in a ditch along the planned route, ready for detonation as Hitler passed. At the last moment, the parade was rerouted and Hitler avoided the trap. The plan failed without detection. The Lanz Strachwitz Plot. In 1943, army generals Hubert Lanz, Hans Speidel, Graf Strachwitz, and Paul Löning allegedly planned to eliminate or arrest Hitler during a visit in Ukraine near the Eastern Front. The idea was to encircle Hitler and his escorts with tanks and arrest him. However, Hitler cancelled the visit and the plan never materialized. The Morell Conspiracy. From 1936 to 45, Dr. Theodor Morell served as Hitler's personal physician, giving him daily cocktails of drugs and stimulants, sometimes up to 20 times a day. His treatments included vitamins, amphetamines, tranquilizers, and pills containing toxic substances like strychnine and belladonna. Doctors Karl Brand and Erwin Giesing noticed Hitler's worsening condition and concluded that Morell was slowly poisoning him. When they confronted Hitler with evidence from bottles found in his quarters, Hitler dismissed their warnings and fired them. However, there's no evidence that Morell intended to poison Hitler. Most historians rather view the situation as reckless malpractice. Still, suspicions remain.